Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Did you have a good one?
And the same to you, my friend. Yes, we did. Thank you.
Very, very good to hear. Very good to hear. So today we're going to be talking about something. If you followed our recent kind of topics, we're kind of pivoting a little bit more into turn to talk about kind of things that are big in the news. And if you're a into the NHL and hockey like myself, you'll see one of the big ones is a divorce between a Sharks player known as Evander Kane. He was a very good player. He just recently signed a $50 million deal, and prior to or excuse me, subsequent to him that deal, uh, he's now in the middle of a very messy divorce. In fact, this week he just filed papers to say that his wife, or his soon-to-be ex-wife, had actually faked a pregnancy and wore around a belly, like a fake belly, for purposes of trying to, for lack of a better term, scam the court, scam the system, and really try to move things forward. And so it kind of brought up an interesting topic that you and I have talked about kind of off screen. It is kind of how to make sure a divorce doesn't turn into this. And so, are there ways that you as an attorney representing either the one of the spouses could help to make sure that your divorce doesn't get this messy?
Yes, Michael. The good morning. It's our Friday legal topics discussion that we have, and I appreciate you bringing it up because the thing about the Thanksgiving to Christmas season, if you will, which starts sometime before Thanksgiving and ends sometime around St. Patrick's Day. But it seems to bring up divorce more frequently in the courts than it's brought up the rest of the year, which is frequently enough. Trust us, because we've been there. Um, but I always tell clients, we always tell clients that your divorce is not something that you want, regardless of whether you think that it's going to uh, assist you or not. You don't want to play it out in the media, in social media, without having a discussion with someone like us beforehand about the pros and the cons of that, because there are pros and there are cons to it. Sometimes people don't realize they're so bent, if you will, on getting revenge on an ex spouse, such as this Evander Kane situation that's playing out in the popular media. But what people don't realize is they're not Evander Kane. They're not having uh, front page reports of their private lives because of what their name is and what they may do for a living, but it can have the same effect, and the effect can be devastating. And very often, if you are relying on the finances of your soon to be ex spouse to support your lifestyle, you don't want to decide on your own without the benefit of consulting with an attorney who has done this repeatedly. You don't want to decide on your own, well, I'm going to tell his bosses and I'm going to get the IRS involved and I'm going to get Channel 12 involved and I'm going to get all these people up in arms as I am about my soon to be ex's behavior and what you think you want to reveal, which is going to pressure your ex. But what ends up happening is, and we've seen it time and again, Michael, is that the unexpected happens, and things like your your ex-spouse, who is the money in the marriage, let's say, if you are the stay-at-home parent and you need to rely on that ex-spouse's income, you very often find that you cause that ex-spouse to have his or her job placed in jeopardy. And if his or her job is placed in jeopardy, it doesn't mean that he just or she just goes out and finds another job. It means that he or she then gets blackballed in whatever the industry is that they are uh, using to provide for the household income. And that's something that you can't turn off. Once you put it out there, you can't suddenly decide that um, I was the innocent spouse on those tax returns. And even though you signed them, you think that just because your ex spouse to be had those tax returns prepared by an accountant and you, as you are telling us, just signed them, insulates you from some exposure. It doesn't. So, aside from revealing something to your spouse's employer, which you may not ordinarily want them to know about, um, you suddenly have jeopardized uh, that spouse's ability to provide for you, and you can't take it back once it's out there. We've had a question from a viewer about spreading lies, and that means spreading lies to third parties, third people who are not a party to your divorce. I tell people all the time, divorce is a private matter and it's between the parties to the divorce. And if your ex spouse is spreading lies and interfering with your ability to earn, it doesn't mean that you should instantly go back onto the same social media platform that he or she has used in spreading these lies and interfering with your ability to earn, that you should not dignify it with going back on and spreading even bigger lies, or somehow giving answers on social media that your boss may want to take up with you about private activities that your non-moneyed spouse has put out on the internet about you. You've got to protect not only the confidentiality and the discretion of your marital communications. And the best way to do that is not to go on social media and say, well, she did something worse, or it doesn't answer the question of what you did that has now been spread out across social media. You
So it sounds like what you're saying is that to really answer the question, you can't really stop anybody from doing anything. I mean, the reality of the situation is if someone's going to try to do something, they're going to be spreading lies. They're going to be spreading lies, but you can't really get out in front of that. There are some things you can do with the court and things, but even that's just a giant headache, and really it's not going to stop what's happening. And so really the best thing to do is to kind of not engage, is kind of what it sounds like you're saying, in that,
exactly,
yeah, and so it's just
exactly,
gonna, yeah. So by not engaging in this tit for tat, then you're really gonna be able to move forward, and it'll pass over. And one of the things that you touched upon, which is whether if it's like the non-moneyed spouse, is that you're actually kind of hurting yourself. So if the non-moneyed spouse is actually putting lies out there about the moneyed spouse, then that's going to hurt what's a potential ability for imputed income and things of that nature, because now you've actually hurt your ability to get marital support. So it
exactly.
right. So it really is kind of various there it can snowball quickly, is really what it comes down to. And one of the things that I do with us is what's called mediation. And it doesn't really kind of matter what happens or how far along you are. So let's just say it does get messy and it does get very toxic, which was another question, is okay, now I'm very messy and it's very toxic, what do I do now? And so you can kind of handle it one of two ways. So one way to do it is you can do an all-out drag-out fight, which you and I have had multiple cases where the parties are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's just going to lawyers' fees. And I'm not saying that the lawyers aren't earning it, but what really is it's happening is you're going through motion after motion for this and for that and for accounting and all of these things, and it really turns into um, the worst possible situation. And at the end of the day, a judge, you have absolutely no idea what a judge is going to say or do. Um, we tell people all the time, when you walk into a courtroom, um, you can have the greatest possible case in the world, you know everything, and a judge just denies it, and that's happened time and time again. And so one other way to do it is what I call is what we talked about earlier is what's called mediation, and that it's that gives you some agency to decide what's going to happen. So it's super ugly. It's very toxic. Everybody is just at a point where you're at a breaking point, and you can either continue down that line, or you can kind of come in as adults. You sit down, we kind of hammer out the details, and within 6 weeks, a judge signs off on it, and you're done. We just had a mediation a few weeks ago that parties came in 2 hours, 3 hours. Divorce was one, two, three, and so it was contested, but by working all together, we not only saved them hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we got them divorced one, two, three. So really that's one way to handle it. Um, and so kind of just to sum up what we talked about, marital and divorce and all of these things, it's a really sensitive topic. And as you said, that line of marriage is or divorce, marriage is private, divorce should be private. And unfortunately, if one party kind of takes it to that next step and makes it public, then the worst thing you could possibly do is to kind of fight fire with fire. So if it does get to that point, you know, call an attorney, or if you have an attorney, talk to them about ways in which to kind of stop the I guess stop the confrontation and kind of move forward, so you can actually get on with your life instead of having to come to a lawyer every few weeks to have a conversation, which is just going to continue on and really be no one's benefit. So if you are looking for advice on your divorce, or if you're having a mediation, or if you're looking for divorce mediation, or really kind of anything along those lines, Chris, what's a good number for people to reach us at?
The number that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. We're available anytime to speak to people. If you don't talk to us in the immediate future, do yourself a favor and keep a diary, a discreet, confidential diary that you don't reveal to anyone but yourself and potentially your attorney, um, involving uh, what happens on a specific day, and just keep it like you keep a diary. Keep it as if you have to go to a job at work, and you keep it with the same discipline. Um, because very often, as you know, Michael, people come in and they say, well, I think it happened around this time, but I'm not quite sure. And whatever it is significant to the discussion. It's not as if who won the Rangers game the other night. It's something involving the two parties that are being discussed with the attorneys, with us. Um, and you want to have those dates down and those times and those incidents that occurred uh, with clarity, because, as you know, one thing that the court systems do appreciate is people who come in organized and want their business done, but they don't just dump it, if you will, on the courts and let the courts decide. They assist the courts in coming to a resolution that more often than not is favorable to the client, who's the more organized and has planned this divorce. Divorce, as we always say, it's like the breakup of any business. It just involves a business where very often there were children involved in that business, and very often that business has grown throughout the course of the years of the marriage. So there are multiple issues that get resolved in the breakup of a marriage business. Uh, but it's the same concept as the breakup of a business between two business partners. So keep that
Very
in
true.
mind.
So have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody out there watching, and you, Chris, I hope you enjoy your family time, and then we're looking forward to everyone being back in the office next week and for a new topic.
Thank you, Michael.